Hi Paula, I looked over your lesson plan and here's my feedback. So you lost me a little bit in this lesson plan. I think that you give some explicit definitions, but I missed where you did the guided instruction on applying it. Like I had you applying it to, let me go through your lesson plan. I'm so sorry. Sorry for all my sniffles. My head is so stuffed tonight. So, okay, you've chosen an evidence outcome and your essential question and your students will be able to is well aligned, all right? I think that your assessment pieces are perfect, so you're making the diagrams to make sure that they're good with it, and then they're going to look at someone else's writing and adjust their own. Nicely done, well aligned. I think that'll give you good information. I love your hook. I love that you're connecting like science to writing and then asking them, how is writing like science? Would you consider there to be an equation? And hearing, like I can hear you, in my head saying these things to your students, these pieces right here, and I think that's really well done. Okay? All right. So, okay, so writing does have an equation, many different equations in fact. You add one type of grouping of words with another and end up creating something new. The best part about writing is that you get to decide how you want your equation to look. We're going to start out with some of the basic components of writing equations. Alright, good. So this transition works well too. Here's one of the basic components of the equations, a phrase. Here's another one, a clause, right? Not all clauses are independent, right? If they are, they're a sentence, they become this way, right? If they're not, they're dependent. So I'm with you there so far, okay? Then you have identify the phrases and clauses as a class with the piece that you wrote on the board in the beginning. Here's where you lost me just a little bit, okay? Walk me through how you're going to do that, what you're going to say to them. In other words, script out your think aloud, okay? Giving kids the definition. A phrase is a group of words, right, that functions together but doesn't have to contain a subject and a verb. Oh, okay, right? And a clause is a group of words that contains a subject and a verb, independent if it's a complete thought, dependent if it's not. Okay, right? Like I'm thinking like how your kids are going to think. And then you're like, okay, so let's look at my paragraph and identify phrases, dependent clauses, and independent clauses. Oh, okay. And they see you, the teacher, apply this knowledge so fluidly, so easily, so seamlessly. And they sit there and think, wait a minute, a what? A what? How'd she do that? Right? Model your think aloud for me here, where you're using the words from your definitions and applying them into your paragraph, right? So I'm going to read this out loud, and I'm going to read all the way until I get to an end mark, a period, right? And then I'm going to think to myself, does this have a subject, a verb, and a complete thought? Well, here's my subject question. Who or what was doing the blah, blah, blah? Oh, it does have a subject. Where's my verb? What was the blah, blah, blah doing? Oh, I do have a verb. And then I'm going to read it again. Do I have a complete thought? Oh my gosh, I do. It's independent. Look at that. Now I'm going to look around for phrases, right? All of those things, I want to see them written out in here, okay? All right. Then you have, because look at what you do here. Reflect on the combination of phrases and clauses. Are students able to tell the difference? How so? What's still confusing? Can students visualize the relationship between phrases and clauses? You have to show them how you're doing this so that they can in turn work with you, right? Give them these stock thoughts to use, sentences to use, questions to ask, so that if a kid goes like, I am not getting it. Like, what if you had a kid, you walk around, you look at the paper, and every single dependent clause is identified as a phrase, and you're like, oh gosh, no, like he got it totally wrong. And then you go, well, what's going on here? I notice all these are wrong. And the kid is going to say something to you like this: I don't know, I don't get it. And you're going to go, okay, well, what's still confusing? I don't know, I don't get it. Right? The kids, but if the value of having that think aloud all scripted out is you can say, okay, when I was reading this, what was the first thing I did? Well, you read to the end of an end mark, a period. Okay, good. So let's try that step. Kid does it. You go, okay, good. So you can do that step. The second thing I did was what? Well, you found the subject. Good. How did I do that? You asked the subject question. Good. Can you do that for me? Right. Do you see how A really well scaffolded, really well put together think aloud allows you to get to this part in the lesson plan and understand exactly where a kid is breaking down. Because if the kid is reading sentences, finding subjects, and finding verbs, you're like, okay, he's got that, and that. It's just the phrases, like the definition of phrases. Perfect, I know exactly where to go. See what I'm doing there? I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, ask me in class. I don't mind, okay? Okay, so then you have them working together in pairs. Very nicely done, providing examples on their own, calling on volunteers, and then working independently with their own responses. I did have one question about this bullet down here. Students will independently work on adding, improving, and removing phrases and clauses in their own responses. Why? Okay, you have given them information. You've asked them to practice this information, but you have not talked to them about why they're doing this. You've talked to them about the combination of writing and science and how it's like a whole bunch of different equations. But why are there so many equations? There's only one equation, right? 2 plus 2 equals 4, right? I guess I could say 1 plus 3 equals 4, or 3 plus 1 equals 4, but they all get me to the same end, and so why does it matter? Why are there all these different equations, okay? If you want them to independently work on adding, improving, and removing phrases and clauses, you have to talk to them about the why piece, okay? So those are the things that I'm seeing in your lesson plan. This is a really interesting question you had here in the end. I wondered if it was like a setup for your next lesson plan. Okay? Nicely done. Thank you.